Welcome to Withdraw Consent. I'm Jack. This is Victor. So I found something really interesting about the State of the Union address that nobody's picked up.
Okay.
And I want to talk about that. But first, I want to talk about something related that's going to build up to it. So let me ask you a question.
Okay.
Do you remember when you were doing the Saddam Hussein video and they pulled him out of the ground? The CIA guy was talking to him.
Yeah.
And he said something about Israel.
Oh, yeah, that Israel is like America's daddy or something like that.
And my question to you is he correct or incorrect? Who's the daddy is my question.
Yeah, I feel like they're in charge and they do what they want because we are their guard dog or their...
But we provide all this stuff for them.
Right.
We give them all this money like a providing father, right?
Oh, see, I look at more of like a servant as opposed to a father. It's more these people have to do this because we're in charge of them.
Yeah. I look at it like this. Providing is one part of being a father, but discipline.
Okay.
Who spanks who? That's what I want to know.
That's a good point.
Right?
Okay.
And so you look at the USS Liberty, and then they spanked us.
Right.
Right? And our airplanes take off because we're going to go get them. You know what I mean? You know how pumped those fighter pilots were? They were just jacked. They were going to just go do terrible things to those Israelis. And they're like, no, go home. We don't spank dad. You know? I would have given the order if I was in charge just to launch everything we have. Everything at Ramstein in Germany, everything, every air refueling plane, call in every favor from every neighbor to use their airstrips, refueling, because I want this carrier group to get to the Liberty, and by the time I get there, I want to degrade Israel's air and sea power down to zero.
Yeah.
I want it hammered to zero. Not one airfield, military airfield in the country operational, not one airplane in, not one boat in the water.
Just what we do to all these other countries.
Yeah, but they're actually attacking us.
Right.
You know, this is not like, some Iranian, what are those boats called, where they just blow them up and then they're just like driving around near us.
Oh, yeah.
It's not like a real attack.
Right.
And there has been stuff, the USS Cole, that's legitimate. Anyways, so in my opinion, there's this problem in this country, and it comes a lot from the Israeli supporters. And a lot of those are, and we're not talking about the people, we're just talking about the country in this episode. And so, or we're talking about their government, actually, their state. And so a lot of the support that they get comes from evangelicals who are proud to do the Christian thing and be the daddy of Israel.
Right.
See, they just don't understand. So if you ever hear somebody talking like that, you've got to be like, hold on. Who spanks who?
Right.
Let me tell you a story, right? And so basically I was watching the State of the Union address, and they do this ridiculous thing where, so behind him is the Vice President, Kamala Harris, and then Mike Johnson, the new Speaker of the House.
Yeah.
And when Joe Biden says something, either one, both, or neither of them stand up.
Okay.
And so the joke was that Kamala Harris got a great workout because she was standing up, sit down, stand up, sit down constantly, big old grin on her face, And then when I saw Mike Johnson, what he stood up for, what do you think he stood up for?
Israel.
Yeah. So I watched it, so you don't have to. I put timestamps in the description. So it's like a 3-hour and something long video. I put the time, and you got to actually manually go to these because I'm not going to get the link for all those. Hour something, and the speech starts. Okay. So I marked that for you. And then he stood up. Okay, so he might have stood up. He stood up 3 times. He might have stood up a 4th time because when Biden said, "Oh, we let Finland into NATO last year," terrible idea, and now we just let Sweden in. And so then the Swedish guy stands up, but then they pan away, and I kind of feel like he was sitting down. So he might have stood up for that, which is a terrible thing to stand up for. I mean, this Mike Johnson guy, right? He nodded his head and clapped while sitting when Biden said, "Putin, there's no way Putin will stop once he gets a hold of Ukraine. He's going all the way into Europe." And Mike Johnson nods. That's a face palm. You should be face palming back there. Make some news, right? Anyways. So then he stands up 2 different times for civil rights. Okay. Then he stands up 1 time for Israel putting the fight to him and getting the hostages back. Okay. The immediate next 3 statements are that America wants a ceasefire. No stand-up clap for that.
Nice.
America wants permanent peace in the area. I'm doing them out of order. Permanent peace in the area by having a 2-state solution. Okay. Nothing for that. So the one I skipped was the very next statement after Mike Johnson stood up and clapped, and it was that Israel needs to I put the quote in the description, to take great care to protect humanitarian, not kill civilians, and allow humanitarian aid in. Nope.
No clapping for that.
No. Amazing, right?
Incredible.
And it's like, I think it goes into the same thing about like, who's the daddy?
Right.
It's just amazing. They had that big bill, right, that they were trying to put through, and it was a border bill, and it gave all the money to Ukraine and then a bunch of money to Israel. And so they got this new bill that they just kind of want to push through, and they were talking about giving $14 million to Israel in the bill. So
Billion?
Million.
Oh, okay.
So they pushed it through in the dead of night.
Of course.
And it's like a minibus, they call it. And it had 4-point-something billion for Israel in it.
Oh.
It's so bad that Marjorie Taylor Greene has put a motion to vacate Mike Johnson.
Oh, wow.
And the other guy, I like him, I forget, the young guy, he said this could be that Democrats are going to get Speaker of the House over this. Because the Republican leadership is so poor. It's just so Israel first. It's amazing. Like, this is wild, but I literally just saw this today. MSNBC is talking about how AIPAC has too much influence on Congress.
Wow.
They're literally, he went race by race and look, and then this one voted present on an Israel thing. They ousted her.
Dang.
Because present is not good enough. You must on your knees now, you know? So basically this is my point, basically.
Okay.
I think it's so interesting that, like, how is it possible that the left is going to be the ones that are going to come out on the right side of this? They're going to end up, because I don't know, whatever they got going on with the pro-Palestinian thing. Mm-hmm. I'm pro-Palestinian, and that I don't want Palestinian civilians to die.
Totally.
Right. So that's, Hamas, that's none of my business, none of that. I'm not pro any of that. Anyways, but like, for some reason, they're getting on the right side of this with the Israel stuff.
Right. Somehow.
Yeah. It's amazing. And why can't one side just get everything right?
It's true.
So you've got to pick 10 million illegal immigrants if you want to do the right policy on Israel.
Right.
Or you got to pick, I'll put it up on the screen for you.
Well, I love Israel. I love Israel.
You know, this is what we're dealing with.
Yeah.
I was going to try it, but my Trump accent's terrible.
Oh, okay.
So it is what it is. Okay, so what do you think about this?
Yeah, I think you're right about everything. The right is just so corrupted because of the Christian narrative of supporting God's chosen people.
Right.
I feel like it all comes back to that, and that they're just completely blind to the whole thing.
I like what you said when I said providing for them and you said serving them,
mm-hmm.
because it's like if you can get people to orient their minds correctly on this issue,
right, then
you could say, as an evangelical Christian, do you want to be the servant to Israel? And if you do, then go for it, because you're on track for that now.
Right.
But if you're a halfway decent Christian, you should not be supporting it's a state religion there, Judaism. So now we're switching from nation to now we're not talking about the race anymore, or we're never talking about the race. We're talking about the nation. Now we're talking about the religion that says that Jesus Christ is in hell boiling in feces,
right,
or some oil or something.
Yeah,
I don't know.
No, you're right.
And it's like, that's who you want to be the servant of?
Right.
Well, you pick, you might as well go work at the Pentagon and you'd be in better company, right?
Right.
Like, for goodness sakes, it's terrible choices.
But just getting anyone to even contemplate that they could be wrong I think that's a monumental task.
Okay. Yeah.
For a Christian.
Okay. I agree. I think there's things you can do in your personal life, influencing people at your church,
okay,
and stuff, where you just make a comment.
Or just ask a question.
Ask a question.
As if you don't know anything. Like, what about this?
Right.
Yeah, cool. So are we Israel's daddy, or are we their servant? Love to hear your thoughts below. To me, it's completely a servant, or their guard dog or whatever. Like to hear your thoughts below. We'll see you next time.